Hello everyone. Today I'm asking you guys that who is the strongest IDW Godzilla in your opinion? Is it Rage Across Time? Is it Godzilla in Hell? Or is it Rulers of Earth? Now most of the IDW incarnations are featless here. Only some versions shows feats likely around town level, city level, even some are capable of destroying the entire planet, and some of these versions have similar classic live-action feats from their movies. But I'm only picking the strongest, the all-powerful ones from the IDW Godzilla comics. So the list won't be too big for today's video. So without further ado, let's begin. To start off with the weakest on this list, I believe Half-Century War Godzilla is one of those versions of the character that the haters are afraid to talk about. This comic is of course one of my favorite IDW Godzilla stories, right after Rulers of Earth and Godzilla in Hell. While there isn't too much overwhelming amount of stuff's happened in this comic, but there are a few things we should look into for the scaling. In this comic run, Godzilla squares off against many monsters, including Space Godzilla. Interestingly, both Godzilla and Mechagodzilla actually work together to defeat him. According to the author of the story, this version of Space Godzilla empowered himself with the energy of dying stars and supernovas before he reached on Earth. This statement is similar to that one previously used for his Defense Force counterpart, so you can potentially argue that he is at least star level. However, in the final issue, humanity uses a weapon against Godzilla that fires a black hole singularity directly at his face. This is similar to the weapon from the Millennium series. However, this Godzilla withstands that small black hole quite easily, which calculates well into solar system level. Regarding speed, there isn't much to go on. He can react to helicopters, tanks, and missiles. However, one could argue that most of Godzilla's atomic heat rays are pure radiation. Since Godzilla is capable of boxing with kaijus who can react to his beam, this could potentially grant him light speed. Moving on to the Rulers of Earth Godzilla, this timeline contains events like Kingdom of Monsters, History's Greatest Monsters, and Rulers of Earth. In the early comics, Godzilla was involved in a beam clash with Batra, generates an earthquake stated to be stronger than the 2004 mega tsunami, and it also parted the clouds above all of North America. On top of that, the earthquake was so powerful that it shook the entire planet, causing multiple damages, and the explosion also generated immense light which could be seen from the space. This is pretty much multi-continental to moon level, and Godzilla was completely fine after this attack. Then in the final page, we saw that Space Godzilla is reaching toward Earth, but we also saw that many stars are exploding in the background. It is stated that he destroyed these stars before he reached Earth. Then in History's Greatest Monsters, we see Godzilla uses a combo beam attack with Kiryu's Absolute Zero cannon, which easily folds Space Godzilla. Now in the same comic, Godzilla blasted through a force field which uses the full power of a black hole, which calculates into 18 kilopho or solar system level. Godzilla blasting through the force field is also solar system level. Then in the Space Godzilla Rivals comic, which is canon to the Rulers of Earth timeline where they also referenced previous events of History's Greatest Monsters, it is shown that Space Godzilla was capable of fighting with Singura, who was able to generate a black hole in his chest. This calculates well into hundreds of foe, and the way Space Godzilla absorbs the black hole to one-shot Singura makes Space Godzilla easily kilopho. Then he absorbs even greater energy from a little kaiju, which makes him feel that he can now beat Godzilla with ease. In Rulers of Earth, Godzilla faces off against various foes where the trilopods are stated to be his strongest enemies, meaning they should upscale characters like Space Godzilla and Destoroyah. Godzilla also killed many trilopods, including the Space Godzilla trilopod, who is even stronger than Space Godzilla himself. But there is something interesting because similar to his Heisei self, this Godzilla also gets stronger over time and during fights. As mentioned in the ongoing series, he one-shots kaijus who were more powerful than himself. So Godzilla at a bare minimum is solar system to multi-solar system level due to the insane amount of multipliers he got over time. Vegeta, who is the final boss of the series and Godzilla's strongest enemy, is a galaxy-level threat. Due to the fact that she is 500 meters taller and 8 times the size of Biollante, this would make her at least 512 times more powerful than the other trilopods, meaning she is at best galaxy level. Godzilla and the other kaijus were unable to do anything to her. However, Godzilla later got a massive amp by absorbing the souls from the other kaijus, which transformed him into a form that risked his life called Fusion Godzilla. With this incredible power, Godzilla overpowered and completely vaporized Vegeta, leaving only her mere bones. This uncontrollable fusion form grants Godzilla multi-solar system, if not galaxy-level AP. Speed-wise, there are kaijus like Mecha King Ghidorah and Space Godzilla who can cross solar systems pretty easily. Space Godzilla himself is able to travel from the edge of the solar system to the moon in just a 30-second conversation, which is millions if not billions of times the speed of light. A weakened Space Godzilla was able to outspeed these objects which can cross star systems pretty easily. Now their travel speed actually matters because Space Godzilla was outsped by Gigan, so any characters like Godzilla who scale to these high tiers are capable of matching their speed. In fact, Godzilla was able to shoot Space Godzilla's crystals, which are even faster than Space Godzilla's flight speed. Furthermore, they were shown to travel from the moon to Earth in a second, so the speed meta is pretty consistent. In the third place, there is everyone's favorite Power Rangers Godzilla. Now this guy is not as strong as everybody thinks, but trust me, he is not a fodder. For starters, in the Power Rangers universe, there are characters who can survive supernovas or technologies which can destroy stars, planets, and even solar systems. Since the Zords are stated to be much stronger than these characters and are also stated to be the strongest technology in the universe, they should upscale these stars and planet-destroying machines pretty easily. Godzilla is on par with, if not stronger than these Zords, he also would be in the same tier if not higher. In the comic, Rita herself, who has her own kaiju monsters powerful enough to destroy the Morphin Grid, admitted that Godzilla is far beyond anything she could ever make. In the same comic, Godzilla is stated to be more powerful than anything the verse has ever encountered before. This means he should upscale universe-threatening beings and fourth-dimensional forces from the Power Rangers verse. But the scaling doesn't end yet, because within the Power Rangers cosmology, there is a higher dimensional realm called the Morphin Grid, which is beyond the concepts of space-time and infinite dimensions, meaning the Morphin Grid is at least a fifth-dimensional force. Godzilla scales to this fifth-dimensional realm, as Rita has kaijus that can wipe out the Morphin Grid, and Godzilla is the strongest kaiju in the universe. In fact, the Rangers stated that the power they borrowed from the Godzilla kaijus is too much for the Morphin Grid to handle. This means at best, Godzilla is like fifth-dimensional. But there is also an elephant in the room. Some people automatically interpret this scan as outerversal, but it's not truly outerversal. The statement is only referring to the infinite Power Rangers universes and nothing more, simple as that. Speed-wise, Godzilla is capable of box with the Zords, which are capable of traveling from Earth to a galaxy quite easily, making him massively faster than light. Now let's move on to the second strongest in the IDW Godzilla multiverse, and it's none other than Rage Across Time Godzilla. Now, of course, this guy is one of the weakest IDW incarnations, as he only destroyed large-sized mountains in several issues, which is literally where he scales. If you believe that his footsteps can shake the entire planet, then he could be multi-continental, but again, that is likely a hyperbolic statement. The Greek gods argument is completely bullshit because there is not a single statement which says that these gods are as strong as their mythological counterparts. Of course, the writers researched Greek mythology, but they never said that these versions share that level of power. And B, these gods are stated to be weakened as people just stopped worshipping them, so they were not really in good shape. And the fact that Godzilla murdering these feetless gods will make him universal is totally bullshit. But I still have reasons for putting him into the second place because just like Ultima, this wannabe god of war actually has a true form, as it's stated that after Zeus completely vaporized Godzilla, he just came back to life because he is the god who exists beyond any physical and spiritual existence. Since this true form is beyond space-time and the infinite Godzilla multiverse entirely, this would be the tier known as low-complex multiversal. But what's funny is that this statement has a similar wording to what was used for God Mountain's true form. It was previously explained by the writers of Godzilla in Hell that the same true form is beyond the spiritual realm, which transcends the IDW Godzilla multiverse. It is stated that there is no infinity in the material realm from the perspective of God and God Mountain. In fact, the true form exists in a higher plane of existence which sees the entire Godzilla multiverse as finite and itself infinite, and the only way you can be truly infinite is to be within the spiritual realm. Meaning this is objectively a sixth-dimensional realm because fourth and fifth-dimensional forces like the morphing grid already exist within the Godzilla multiverse, and Godzilla himself scales to these forces. So the true form of the Rage Across Time Godzilla, which is the god of the multiverse and beyond the spiritual realm, is actually a complex multiversal level being, but he also gets into the outerversal category because of Godzilla in Hell, but I will talk about that later. As for his speed, since the true form is beyond stuff like time, he would be immeasurable in speed, but you could also argue irrelevant. But who's left? And it's Godzilla in Hell. Unfortunately, there are some twisted, idiotic people who always misinterpret this comic's narrative, claiming that it was all a dream and that the writers never coordinated with each other during the comic's creation, making the story a complete accident. which is an absolute bullshit for an excuse because Godzilla in Hell was a collaborative writing project, which means all the writers had to agree on the story's events and like what was happened or said for Godzilla and the God Mountain, including the direction the plot was taking. The dream argument is a twisted way of thinking, as I have explained before that Godzilla's journey into hell was real, and there is literally nothing which proves that he was dreaming all this time. That's just a lame excuse that Reddit goons are like to push. But how strong is Godzilla in hell? Well, at worst he is like dwarf star to solar system level, as he destroyed an entire planet with a radius of around 1,000,000 kilometers. But according to some calculations, this feat goes all the way up to solar system level. Then if you look into the context, it is stated that Godzilla and Space Godzilla actually destroyed that entire realm, which contains multiple stars and is also its own space-time. As for hell, it is stated that every hell layer Godzilla enters is a different pocket dimension, infinite in size and also their own separate spacetimes. Since heaven and hell are comparable and Godzilla surpassed both by the end of the issue, he would arguably has low multiversal attack potency. In the same comic, Godzilla squares off against the god of the IDW Godzilla multiverse. Now, like the other IDW comic universes, the Godzilla multiverse is also infinite and it contains infinite-sized universes, infinite worlds, timelines, and alternate dimensions with higher dimensional forces like the morphing grid. This means Godzilla in Hell is at bare minimum 5th or 6th dimensional due to the spiritual realm where the true god resides. Now, many people might say that the writer stated he never killed God Mountain, or that God Mountain is not the creator of the IDW Godzilla multiverse. They also might argue that the Godzilla in Hell writers who never wrote other IDW Godzilla comics didn't have the ultimate say in the franchise because they couldn't answer questions about issues they never wrote. But as I explained earlier, Godzilla in Hell is a multi-writer project where every writers had to agree on what was being said or shown in the comic. Therefore, even if the writers hadn't worked together previously or if they never wrote the other Godzilla comics, their statements are still remain valid, and even sometimes their answers are truly consistent with the original work. The God Mountain is literally the god of the verse, which is backed up by the writers, and even the comic itself implies this, which proves that the intention was to introduce a supreme creator who rules over the entire IDW Godzilla verse. This is a common thing in comic history where one writer creates something and others build upon and expand it, so there are no issues with the writer's statements. But what about the different interpretations on God Mountain? Because sometimes authors say Godzilla never killed God Mountain, and then they say he did, or that the mountain you see is not the creator of the multiverse. This is because the mountain you see is just an embodiment of the supreme creator, an avatar, or I should say the physical body of the real God Mountain. Meaning Godzilla only murdered the physical avatar in that issue, but he still scales to the true form, as there are multiple statements about Godzilla being on par with God. But more consistently, it is stated that Godzilla became a rival to him or replaced him with his power-ups. The god demon is stated to be the strongest enemy he had ever met, and Godzilla became so powerful after defeating him that nothing from the verse could beat him after the fact. IDW themselves confirmed that all of their comics shares a grander megaverse cosmology, and they have proven this through the Infestation comics. I'm not saying Godzilla can destroy the entire IDW megaverse, but the megaverse is still important because Godzilla has crossed over with other parts of it, and within the megaverse there is the Dungeons and Dragons cosmology. Now, Dungeons and Dragons itself is a high outerversal and insanely overpowered verse, but how does Godzilla scale to this? Well, there is already a version of Godzilla in the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse who is so powerful that even the D&D god of the verse, the luminous being, cannot kill or contain him in his cosmology. Meanwhile, that same version of Godzilla also walked through another powerful book series, Twin Peaks, which also is an outerversal if not high outerversal cosmology. In the same magazine, many outerversal characters like Bob were unable to do anything to this Godzilla, meaning D&D's Godzilla is already above two high-tier cosmologies. Since D&D had comics with IDW, of course they currently lost the license, but they had it when Godzilla in Hell was around, and IDW themselves confirmed that the challenges of Hell is the most impossible challenges that Godzilla have ever faced, which means Hell upscales that D&D version of Godzilla, which also grants Godzilla in Hell outerversal scaling. And he became more powerful than before and surpasses everything in the IDW Godzilla multiverse. As for his speed, he would easily have infinite speed, as Godzilla is able to walk through multiple layers of hell which are infinite or endless in size. But as for some higher ends, he scales to a being who is beyond stuffs like time, meaning he is most likely immeasurable in speed, but since he is more in the outerversal scaling, he probably have irrelevant speed. Also, for some reasons, people tried to argue that most of the Godzilla in Hell author statements are actually fake because of these two statements, but again, it's not completely true because Moody is only talking about the DeviantArt ones, not the Twitter ones. If you just search for a while, you can find a lot of original Godzilla in Hell writer statements from their original Twitter accounts. Me and my friend Triassiczilla have found a lot of original statements from their accounts, so it's not really an issue, by the way. So Godzilla in Hell is not just the strongest IDW or the strongest Godzilla in the franchise, but he is literally the god among kings. But with that being said, that's pretty much everything for today's video. Now, if you agree or disagree with Godzilla and Hell scaling, let me know in the comments, but just not be a dickhead like Reddit goons. Subscribe to my friend Triassiczilla. He helped me a lot with the statements, and that's all I have to say. See you guys in the next video. Why are you still waiting? The video is already over. Now go and do something else.